And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called Valletta. Valletta is a game that's based on a city you can go see. In fact, there's like a touristy brochure in here, but it's from Stefan Dorra, who I really like the games that he does. And this is a deck-building Euro game. It feels sometimes like this is like a follow-up to Rainer Knizia just did a deck-building game based on Quest for El Dorado, which is a deck-building race game. This is a deck-building resource management game. And it's like the Euro game designers are like, this deck-building thing is a new thing. No, you might be 10 years behind the curve, but that's okay. This game is a game in which you are trying to build different buildings and get points that way. Here's how it plays. Players are going to have a whole pile of cards placed out in the middle of the board based on the number of players in the game. This is set up for a 3-player game right now. The goal of this game is to get the most points. You might get some points during the course of the game as you're scoring, but also when you own a building is going to be worth a certain amount of points, and if you upgrade that building, it's going to be worth even more points at game end. Now, each player is going to have their own little deck of cards. These are starting cards that player will have. They're going to be drawing 5 of these cards into their hand. On your turn, you are going to play cards one after another on your board, 1, 2, and 3. You will then discard those cards and draw back up to 5. Now, most of the cards that you have at the beginning of the game are simply just going to give you resources that the game provides. Wood, brick, stone, or coins. And like this one here, it copies the last card that was played. And so most of your cards at the beginning are going to be taking the different resources, or this one here, which lets you take any good. But there's 2 other cards that players have, Building a Building and Jean Parasot de Valletta. I'm sure I pronounced it incorrectly. We'll talk about him first. When you play his card, his is the only card you have to do. You can ignore a card if you want to when you play it, and sometimes you're forced to. But his card always moves the purple figure forward 1. You flip over the barrel that's there, and you get the resource underneath it. So it's a random resource. It's also a way that the game can end, because when he gets all the way to the end, that's one of the triggers for the end of the game. Building a building, you're going to want to build different buildings that are out there. These are going to be randomly selected at the beginning of the game. And when you build a building, you have to pay the cost of that building. So for example, this one here costs 4 gold, 2 wood, 1 stone, 2 brick, 1, 1, and 1. Some buildings are cheaper than others. When you buy a building, you will take the card for that building and place the card for that building in your hand, and you're also going to put one of your building tokens on it. When all 8 of your building tokens are on the board, that's another way for the game to trigger the ending of it. That card goes in your hand, it becomes part of your deck. So when you play it in the future, it's going to do all sorts of things. The card I just took, every time you play it, you get 2 victory points. So green cards will say for each of your brick icons, take 1 brick. So you'll notice that at the bottom of each card, there's an icon on it. So this one has a brick icon. If I get more of those, this card becomes more powerful. The blue cards will do different things. Sometimes they will do stuff to other players. Like this one, it says each opponent with more than 3 goods must give you a good. This one here, choose 1 good. For each of your icons, take a matching good. It's like a super green card. The yellow cards are usually about victory points. Greens are resources, and blues are somewhere in between. Now, when you build a building, if you have a building that's adjacent to it, so if red decides to build this building here, you pay 1 less coin for each adjacent building. You can also upgrade a building when you play the builder card, and when you do that, you don't have to pay the money, just the cost of the goods, and you'll flip it over, which will increase its victory points and the number of icons that it has on it, making your cards more powerful. When you play the Jean card, you also can hire or fire a character. You can get rid of a card from your hand, and you can take a card. There's some extra builder cards set aside at the beginning of the game, but cards that other people kick out of their hands, you can add those to your hand if you want, or you might want to get rid of someone just because they're clogging up your deck. And the game is going to continue until one of the game-ending conditions is met. At that point in time, players are going to total up their extra points. But before they do that, there's one final set of rounds where players will shuffle their entire deck of cards and they'll play through their deck, which means if some players have a bigger deck, they'll have a few more turns than the other players. Once that's done, you'll get points for all your buildings and add it to the points that you have throughout the game. This purple character moving here helps end the game, gives you points for barrels, but also if you build a building in the row or the column that he's in, you will gain 2 victory points. So it's sometimes useful to build where he's at. That's pretty much the game. So I think this game is an excellent, fun little game. The biggest problem with it, I think, is that it's forgettable, right? It's an interesting game. I like the building the deck. I like playing the cards. Turns are really quick. You just boom, 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 play your 3 cards, collect your resources, build a building, go on, get a new card, and so on and so forth. And it has a lot of things that are streamlined. The way to cull your deck. Your deck is never going to be big anyway, so you get rid of a card and or add a card if you want to. At the beginning, sometimes you add an extra builder so you can build buildings faster. Then you're like, oh, I don't need that extra builder, and chuck them out. So, you have these cards that let you do things, and it's quick and it's simple. Collect the resources. There's 4 types of resources. You get these resources, you build the buildings, you upgrade the buildings. There's not a whole lot of different paths to victory. Getting the yellow cards can get you points in various ways, and you might want to focus on 1 or 2 types of resources, which will help you out. But it's pretty straightforward. It's the kind of game you can kick back and talk while you're playing. Not a lot of thought to go into it, but it's still an enjoyable experience. I like playing it, and it's fun. My negatives are, I think the cards are a little too small. It's odd because the game is so easy to teach. The rules are literally 2 pages. They have an extra rule book that explains all the cards, and I read the section on the building card, and I never looked at the other card descriptions because I did not need to. It's really obvious what the cards do, so I like that. But the setup takes a bit because you have to put in a certain number of blue, green, and yellow buildings, shuffle them out, place them up, find the matching cards, which have little letters in the corner, but still, it takes a while to set up. It takes almost longer to set up than it does to play the first several rounds. It also has a unique thing in a deck building. You get to the end, and then it's play through your whole deck. And you're like, oh, good. This card I just bought, I'll get to play it. Yay. So there's that, and the game doesn't take too long. It's about an hour or so I think it's fine. But the small cards are hard to shuffle. Not a big fan of that. Set up a little wonky. And like I said, I just feel like in 3 years, people say Valletta, and people are like, what was that game again? I don't know. And that's my concern. It's fun, but it's not memorable, I think. Now, a few people, the heavy Eurogame crowd in my gaming group, they were like, oh, we don't like this game. There's too much take that. There's a little bit. I mean, take a resource from someone else, take a coin with the cards, but I never felt like it was overly oppressive or overbearing. It's there. Take a few resources from other people, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Is it the difference between winning or losing a game? Maybe at super high level play? I wouldn't know. You shouldn't have let them buy those blue cards, and you buy them. But overall, an interesting and fun game, taking deck building and putting it in a different kind of genre, and it works. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!